He snatched my keys off the table like I was some stranger. Then he looked me dead in the eye and said, "You can keep the shoes, but not the ride." He locked me out of my own car, out of the car I paid for, insured, registered. He slammed the door while laughing with his friends, like it was a joke, like I was the joke. But while he played king with a set of keys, he forgot one thing. The title was in my name, and while he was sipping beer on the porch, I was sending the tow truck. By the time he realized what he lost, it was already rolling down the street, without him. I used to let him drive everything. Not just the car, the conversations, the choices, the silence. It's wild what you give up when you love someone who looks you in the eye and says they'll pay you back. Eventually. Zach Taylor, that was his name. Dallas-born, full of charm, with that messy blonde hair and a crooked grin that could talk his way out of a speeding ticket. And he did. Twice. We met at a friend's barbecue in Oak Cliff. He was leaning against a truck that wasn't his, talking about dreams that weren't real. And I bought every word of it. I was working 2 jobs at the time. One as a front desk assistant at a medical clinic downtown, the other doing freelance web design at night. Nothing fancy, but enough to pay the bills, enough to put food on the table, enough to help someone I thought was building a life with me. He didn't have a car when we met, said his last one died on him in the middle of Highway 67. I offered to drive him around, at first, but the rides got longer, the gas more frequent, and then I found myself co-signing the lease for a 2021 silver Camry. He picked the model, said it felt like success. He handed me the pen, made a joke about how I was the CEO of his future. I laughed and signed. I should have seen the flags, should have asked more questions, but I was tired. Tired of being alone, tired of people taking and leaving. So when Zach stayed, I mistook that for love. He started leaving earlier in the mornings, started calling the car his baby, started driving to parties without me. He said he was networking. I said nothing. I stayed silent so many times I could have been a statue in our living room. And the worst part, he started talking like I owed him. Said if I hadn't been so broke, he wouldn't have had to handle everything. Everything. Like what? Driving my car, eating my groceries, sleeping under my lease. But I still stayed, because love doesn't always leave with logic. Sometimes it stays with desperation. Until the night he left me stranded. We were coming back from dinner. He was in a mood. Something about a friend landing a new job. He turned the music up too loud, refused to speak to me. And when we pulled into the gas station near Mockingbird Lane, he stopped the car, told me to grab us some drinks. I walked inside, got 2 bottles of water, came back out and the car was gone. Gone. Like I'd hallucinated everything. My phone was in the car, my wallet, too. He left me there, at 10:14 p.m., in a sundress and sandals. I stood in that parking lot for 45 minutes before I borrowed a phone from a stranger to call my friend Hannah. She picked me up, no questions. She just handed me a hoodie and said, "You don't have to stay quiet anymore." I didn't say a word the whole ride, but something inside me cracked open that night. Not from pain, from clarity. Zach thought he took the wheel. But what he didn't know is that I never gave up the road. And soon, he'd find out exactly how powerful paperwork can be. The next morning, he texted like nothing happened. Just a casual, "You good," with a smirking emoji. No apology, no explanation, not even a joke to smooth it over. And that was the moment I knew Zach didn't see what he did as cruel. He saw it as normal. I didn't reply, but I wasn't done. I was done crying. Sure, done making excuses. But I wasn't done thinking. Wasn't done remembering all the receipts in that drawer. Wasn't done looking at the copy of the car title, sitting in a plastic folder under my taxes. He didn't even know I kept one. He never cared to look, because in his mind, possession meant ownership, and he possessed everything. But ownership comes with a signature, and the only name on that title was mine. I started small, quiet. I used the spare key he didn't know I kept, the one I hid inside the lining of my old purse. I went to where he worked some auto detailing gig his cousin hooked him up with and picked up the car during his shift. It felt surgical, clean, controlled. He didn't even notice it missing until after midnight. By then, it was parked in Hannah's garage. I took photos of everything: VIN, plates, odometer, just in case. Then I filed a motion of ownership confirmation with the DMV just to protect myself. But the next morning, he was outside my apartment, yelling, banging on the door like a man possessed. He called me a thief, said I was crazy, that I had no right. I just stood behind the peephole and didn't blink. Then he slid a note under the door. "You can have the car, I'll take something else." I should have felt scared, but I didn't, because I knew exactly what he meant, and I had already changed every password, frozen my credit, called my bank. I knew the kind of war I was stepping into, and I had no interest in mercy. 3 days later, I woke up to the sound of metal on concrete. He had keyed the hood, bitch, in thick, white scratches, right across the silver. That car wasn't just transportation anymore. It was a battlefield. So I escalated, filed a police report, got security footage from the building next door, called his cousin at the detailing shop and told him exactly why Zach shouldn't be near clients' vehicles. He was fired within 24 hours, and just like that, the balance began to shift. Zach wasn't just angry anymore. He was exposed. His stories didn't line up. People started whispering. Friends unfollowed. His Instagram turned from influencer energy to dead silence. But I wasn't done. Because spite doesn't fill you up forever. I wanted closure, not just revenge. So I took the car to a local dealership, explained everything, every scratch, every payment. They didn't ask questions, just ran the title, offered me a trade-in price that surprised even me. I signed the papers, drove away in a black Jeep Grand Cherokee with tinted windows and zero memories. I felt taller, louder, free. And Zach texted again 2 days later. "Hey, I saw the Camry got sold. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a full minute, then replied with a single photo, the title transfer receipt, signed, sealed, mine. He didn't text again, but the story didn't end there. Because 2 weeks later, Hannah forwarded me a screenshot. Zach had posted on Facebook. Something vague, something bitter. "Some people are snakes, smile in your face while stealing your life." People commented. 1 or 2 sided with him, but most just ignored it. Because his version didn't make sense anymore. Because mine had receipts. And when you've got paperwork and patience, you don't need to scream. You just need to own the silence. I never wanted to hurt him, but I wasn't going to keep letting him rewrite the truth. This was never about a car. This was about taking the wheel back, one document at a time. And that's a ride I'll never regret taking. But what stayed with me the most wasn't the texts or the scratches on the hood. It was the way silence became power. Every time I didn't respond, every time I refused to play into his chaos, I reclaimed something. A piece of myself. A version of me that didn't shrink when disrespected. A version that no longer traded comfort for control. People think revenge is loud, but sometimes it's quiet. It looks like showing up to a dealership with all your documents in order. It sounds like the click of a pen on a title transfer. It feels like walking to your car, with no one questioning your right to it. I started working on myself again, started eating better, sleeping with my phone on, do not disturb. I even applied for a new job, something corporate, something bold. Not because I needed to prove anything to him, but because I wanted to prove something to myself that I could rebuild, that I was never the weak one in this story. He used to say I was too nice, too quiet, too passive, and for a long time, I believed that was true. But now I know. Quiet doesn't mean powerless. It means strategic. It means watching the whole board before you make your move. And when I moved, I took the title. I kept the dignity. And I left him with exactly what he gave me. Nothing. He once said the car made him feel like a man. I wonder how it feels now, watching that same car pass him on the freeway, with a new driver, a new life, and no place for him in the rear view. As for me, I drive in silence now. No arguments, no chaos, just music I love, windows down, and a kind of peace you can't buy. Because he took the keys, but I took the title, and in the end, that's all that matters. I didn't hear from Zach for a while after the title photo. Weeks went by, quiet ones, too quiet. And when someone like Zach goes silent, it's never peace. It's preparation, the storm before the storm. Then it came, in the form of a letter, folded twice, dropped in my mailbox with no stamp. His handwriting sharp, messy, full of unfinished thoughts. Hope the car was worth it, because you'll be needing it when I take you to court. I should have laughed, but I didn't, because I knew Zach didn't make threats without follow-up. They were sloppy, sure, but loud, and loud things make messes. So I gathered everything, every receipt, every email from the dealership, screenshots of our texts, the loan papers, even the GPS location logs he never knew were syncing to my email. I built a folder thicker than a lawsuit. I booked a consultation with a local attorney in uptown Dallas. His name was Marcus Wells. Older, calm, the kind of man who didn't blink when I said, "My ex is threatening to sue me for the car I legally own." He looked through my documents, page by page. He didn't smile until he saw the title. "This is airtight," he said. "He's bluffing." But I wasn't taking chances, because if Zach wanted a fight in court, I'd give him one. Except I wouldn't swing first. I'd let him throw the punch and hit air. 3 days later, I got a call from a blocked number. It was him. No greeting, just static and anger. "You think you're smart, huh?" I didn't answer. He kept going, said I ruined his life, that no one would date him now, that everyone thinks he's a scammer. I wanted to say, "You are," but I held it, held everything. Until he said one thing that made my spine lock. "Maybe I should just show up where you work." That was the line. I hung up, filed a restraining order the next morning. I wasn't just playing defense anymore. I was drawing the boundary in ink. And I was tired of Zach living rent-free in the corners of my life. So I did something bold. I posted. One photo, me in front of the dealership, smiling, holding the new keys. Proof that paperwork is power. It wasn't for him. It was for every woman who's ever been told she was too emotional, too naive, too soft to handle her own business. The likes rolled in, and with them, the comments. Some from strangers, some from women who said, "Same story, different city. He took my car too, but I didn't have your courage." And that's when I knew this was never just about Zach. It was about the pattern. The way certain men use charm like camouflage. The way they weaponize kindness and twist trust into something sharp. I got approved for my new job 2 weeks later. Project manager, 6-figure track, company car. I read the email 3 times before it sank in. I'd gone from co-signing for a man with no credit to being trusted with budgets, people, deadlines. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building, on my own terms. Hannah took me out to celebrate. She raised her glass and said, "You didn't just take back your car, you took back your damn life." I smiled, because it was true. Zach thought the keys were the power, but I learned something he never did. The real engine was always me. I drove that Camry for the last time that weekend. One final trip across the Trinity River, windows down, Beyoncé on the radio. Then I handed it off to a single mom buying her first reliable vehicle. I gave her a discount, because sometimes revenge isn't about hurting someone. It's about helping someone else with the ashes. She hugged me, told me she'd name the car Freedom. I didn't cry, but something in me healed, right there on that concrete lot. And Zach, he's probably still telling some twisted version of the story, still claiming ownership with no proof, still chasing control with no keys. But me, I've moved on. And this time, No one's riding shotgun unless they know the whole route. Because once you reclaim your name, your voice, your title, you don't hand it over for a smile and some sweet words. You hold it tight, you drive forward, and you never look back. The weeks that followed were the quietest of my life, and I mean that in the best way. No chaos, no games, no guessing if someone would yank the rug out from under me. Just calm. It felt foreign at first, but I leaned into it. Like sun through the blinds after too many stormy mornings. I started journaling again, writing not about him, but about me. What I wanted, what I loved, what I'd forgotten I was good at. I reconnected with my brother in Austin, someone I hadn't spoken to since I started dating Zach. Zach always said he was too critical. Turns out, my brother just saw through him. He visited one weekend, brought ribs and jokes, and that look only older siblings have. "You're back," he said. "The version of you that doesn't dim herself to make someone else feel taller." And that hit deep, because I had dimmed myself. I'd made myself small so many times, I forgot what it meant to take up space, to take up oxygen, to take up authority in my own damn story. And while Zach faded out, blocked, gone, erased, I stayed, present, solid. I got promoted within 6 months, began managing 2 new hires, both women. One of them asked if I'd ever dealt with a manipulative partner. I didn't spill the whole tea, but I said this: if someone takes your keys, make sure they don't have your title. She laughed, then paused, and whispered, "Thank you." That's the thing about stories like mine. They don't just disappear when the X does. They echo, they warn, they protect, and they empower. So now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the woman who got left at the gas station. I see the one who read the fine print, the one who called the shots when the other side thought I wouldn't dare. I see the woman who remembered that ownership isn't about volume, it's about proof, and I carry mine like armor, every day, somewhere between silence and recovery. I found a version of myself I forgot existed. Not the helper, not the forgiver, not the girl who handed over keys just to keep the peace, but the woman who owned the damn car and the story. But healing isn't always quiet. Sometimes it screams, like the voicemail I got from Zach's mom. Yes, his mother. "Hi, this is Sharon. I don't want to get in the middle, but Zach says you're being unfair. He's really struggling, and I just think maybe you could work something out after all you two went through." I laughed, aloud, in the middle of the office parking lot, because somehow, after all I went through, it was still my job to work something out. As if survival came with terms and conditions, I didn't call her back. But I thought about writing her a letter, listing everything her son had taken, not just the car, but the comfort, the sleep, the steady belief that love didn't have to come with locks. But then I realized she wouldn't hear me. Because Zach came from a world that taught him women were pit stops, refueling stations, temporary destinations while he figured himself out. And the moment we asked for reciprocity, for respect, we became too difficult. So I didn't send a letter. I sent my silence, because some messages don't need stamps. They just need distance. It was around that time the dealership called. Not the one where I got the Jeep. A different one, a small, family-owned place off the loop in Mesquite, said someone had applied for a car loan using my name. I froze. They asked if I had authorized anyone. I said no. Absolutely not. They sent over the application. And there it was. My full name, my old phone number, Zach's email, Zach's handwriting. I filed a police report that same day. Fraud, identity theft. And for the first time, it wasn't just about heartbreak, it was about crime. Detective Simmons took my case. She was sharp, mid-40s. No nonsense. Listened carefully, asked the right questions. She said, "He's done this before. We've seen patterns like this, but you documented everything. That's rare and powerful. And in that moment, I felt vindicated. All the screenshots, all the files, all the photos. They weren't petty, they were evidence. My silence hadn't been passive, it had been strategic. Zach was picked up 3 weeks later, not in handcuffs, but for questioning. And just like I knew he would, he lied. Said he had my permission, said it was a misunderstanding, said I was spiteful and bitter. But guess what? Facts don't flinch, and neither did I. They couldn't arrest him on that alone. But he was flagged, marked in the system, and when another dealership flagged the same name a month later, that was it. He disappeared after that. Socials wiped, phone disconnected, friends stopped mentioning him. It was like he never existed, but I did. I still do. I exist in every woman I tell this story to. I exist in every DMV record where my signature stood alone. I exist in every freeway I drive now without fear. And I exist in rooms I used to feel too small for. Last month, I spoke on a panel at a tech conference in Houston. The topic, resilience. They introduced me as a project lead, innovator, mentor. No one mentioned Zach, because this part of the story, this is mine. I told the audience a version of what happened, not every detail, just enough to say, when someone tries to write you out of your own life, pick up the pen and the title. They stood, clapped, some even cried, and I stood taller, not because I was healed, but because I was whole. You see, the thing about keys is anyone can hold them, but titles are earned, signed, filed, protected, and no one, not Zach, not his mother, not the system could take that from me, because I didn't just reclaim a car, I reclaimed every part of me they tried to minimize, every voice I silenced to keep things civil, every instinct I doubted to keep the relationship alive. Now I don't doubt myself anymore. I don't whisper when I know the truth. I don't wait to be given permission. I own the road. I own my name. And more than anything else, I own the ending of this story. The irony of it all is, I used to pray Zach would fight for me, that he'd chase me down, say the words I wanted to hear, prove he cared. But now I thank God every day that he didn't. Because if he had fought harder for me, I might have stayed. And if I had stayed, I would have lost everything. Not the car, not the money, but the most valuable thing I ever owned, my self-worth. There's something sacred about knowing your power, about learning that you don't need to scream to be strong. You just need to stand, even when it shakes, even when your voice trembles, even when you feel like the world won't believe you, because eventually they will, especially when you show them the title, the proof, the paper trail, the you who refused to disappear. I've started mentoring younger women now. Women in tech, women in transition. Women like I once was unsure of their own strength because the world kept rewarding their silence. And I tell them this. Never be afraid to document. Keep the emails. Take the screenshots. Trust your instincts. Protect your name. Because even if they try to rewrite your story, receipts speak louder. Sometimes they tear up. Sometimes they laugh, but they always listen. Because we know what it's like to be minimized, to be dismissed, to have our kindness mistaken for weakness, but we also know what it feels like to rise. And once you've done that, once you've owned the truth, there's no going back. I no longer measure success by titles at work, or the size of my paycheck, or how many followers I have. I measure it by this, how free I feel when I drive. No shadows in the passenger seat. No lies in the glove compartment. Just me, my voice, and the certainty that no matter who tries to steal the keys again, the title stays with me. This is the part of the story people think is easy. The after, the victory lap, the part where the woman drives off into the sunset, music loud, windows down, free. But healing isn't cinematic. It's quiet, messy, lonely sometimes. It's paperwork, it's budgeting, it's therapy sessions on Thursday mornings and panic attacks that still come when a blocked number calls. It's having to remind yourself, again and again, you're not crazy. You were just manipulated. I spent months untangling pieces of myself from Zach's shadow. Little things. The way I'd check over my shoulder walking to my car. How I'd flinch when someone raised their voice in a meeting. The guilt I'd feel for saying no even when I had every right to. But piece by piece, I reclaimed it all, not through grand declarations, but through choices. Every time I paid a bill on time, every night I cooked dinner just for me, every morning I looked in the mirror and saw someone worthy, not because a man said so, but because I decided it. Zach never came back, at least not physically. But once, on a Tuesday afternoon, I saw someone driving a silver Camry that looked just like the old one. My stomach dropped, my hands went cold on the wheel, but then the car passed me. Different plate, different driver, different life. And I realized that version of me was gone, too. The one who tolerated the silence, the one who accepted half love and full control. She didn't survive. She evolved. I got promoted again, became head of department, got my own team, my own office. When they handed me the keys to my company car, I smiled. Keys. But this time, no one could take them from me. One day, I was invited to speak at a university, Women in Leadership. The students asked thoughtful questions. One girl, barely 20, raised her hand and said, "What's one thing you wish you'd known when you were in a toxic relationship?" I didn't hesitate. I said, "That your silence isn't noble. It's just what they depend on. And your voice, that's the thing they fear most." She nodded, wrote it down, and in that moment, I felt something shift. The story wasn't just mine anymore. It was hers and theirs, and anyone who needed permission to say, "This isn't okay." I don't need revenge anymore. I have receipts. I have peace. I have power. I've learned that power isn't loud. It's quiet. It's calm. It's sitting across the table from yourself and realizing you came back, whole, wiser, untouchable. The last time I saw Zach, it wasn't in person. It was a mugshot, posted in a news article for fraud. Not against me this time. Someone else. Another woman. And for a moment, I felt sad. Not for him. For her. For all the hers out there. But then I reminded myself, every story needs a witness. And sometimes, a survivor becomes the signpost, the warning, the light. That's who I am now. Not a victim. Not just the girl who lost her keys. I'm the woman who owned the title, and every inch of herself that came with it. I started a nonprofit last fall. It helps women navigate vehicle ownership, legal protection, and financial literacy. We call it Drive Her Forward. Because that's what we do. We don't just escape, we accelerate. And for the record, I bought a house. It's small, cozy, white fence, big windows, and parked in the driveway is a black Jeep Grand Cherokee with a plate that reads Title I. Because yes, he took my keys, but I took the whole damn title. Sometimes. I still get messages, not from Zach, but from women who heard my story somewhere online, at a panel, through a friend. They start with, "I know this might sound crazy, but..." And then comes the flood. Stories of men who charmed and drained, of leases signed in desperation, of promises made in dim kitchens and broken in broad daylight, of cars taken, credit ruined, trust dismantled. And I respond to every single one, not with pity, but with tools, with steps, with fire, yes, but also with form, because it's not enough to say you deserved better. We need to say, here's how you get it. One woman named Lila told me her boyfriend left her name on an eviction notice. She was sobbing, lost, ashamed, but she had screenshots, emails, lease agreements, and now she's in her own apartment, her own name on the lease, her own damn dog. That's what power looks like. Not fame, not followers, but freedom. And the systems that support it. I think about younger me sometimes. The version who walked into that dealership holding her breath, hoping the cosign wouldn't be too risky. I want to hug her, tell her it's going to hurt, but it's going to make you unstoppable. Because I wouldn't trade what I learned not for a smoother road, not for a cleaner ending. Every scrape was a lesson, every betrayal, a blueprint, every silent night, a seed that grew into something unshakable. People say, don't let a bad man change you, but I say let it refine you, let it sharpen your instincts, let it teach you to read the contracts, to know your worth, to walk away without slamming the door, because dignity doesn't beg. It builds, and me I'm still building. Not because I'm broken, but because I'm capable. Because I've seen what it looks like to be stripped down to nothing, and I've built something better from the ground up. So if you're listening to this, if you're still in the car with someone who makes you feel like a passenger in your own life, let me tell you, you don't have to crash to get out. You just need to open the door, stand, and drive in the other direction. And when you do, make sure the title is in your name. The truth is, I used to wonder if I'd ever feel safe again. Not just from Zach, but from myself, from the parts that once believed love required sacrifice. But safety, I learned, isn't found in another person. It's built, brick by brick, boundary by boundary. It's in the way you say no, even when your voice shakes. It's in the account you open in your name only. It's in the title you don't hand over, no matter how much they smile. Now when I walk into a room, I don't shrink. I don't scan for approval. I take my seat, speak my truth, and I don't apologize for the volume. Because I earned this voice. I earned this peace. And if my story keeps just one woman from handing over the keys to someone who doesn't deserve the ride, then it was all worth it. So yes, he took my keys, but I took the title, and I never gave it back.